Hey everyone, welcome back to the Selena Vinyl series. My name is Carlos and thanks for joining me today. I also want to give a big thank you to everyone who viewed my last two videos where we reviewed the Los Dinos con esta copa LP and the compilation album that included two tracks from mis primeras grabaciones. Today we're actually going to be talking about this LP right here, which is Female Vocalist of the Year, and the winner is by Selena Y Los Dinos, which came out in 1987. Before we talk about that, I just want to go back because other than the compilation LP, this is probably the earliest Selena work that I have on vinyl. Now, there's a huge gap in my collection. There's so much that came out before this, but it's so hard to find and it's so expensive. So before this that came out in 87, there was stuff that came out all the way as early as 83. So one of Selena's first labels, which was Cara Records, they put out a lot of stuff from 83 on to like 85. They put out a bunch of 45s, some 7-inch 45s, that were singles from the LP, which was called The New Girl in Town, which came out in 85, I want to say, by Cara Records. Now, also, before that was the Primeras Grabaciones, which was put out by Freddie Records, and that was in 84. So there's a bunch of stuff that came out before that. Also before this, there was two other full-length LPs that came out, which was Alpha, which came out in 1986, and then there was Muñequito de Trapo, which also came out in 86, and this was at the time when Selena had switched to GP Records. So by the time we get to this one here, we've already gone through 3 record labels, and they're, you know, like indie record labels, local to Texas. Selena and the family, probably her dad, was shopping around trying to find the best record label that's going to give them the most exposure, probably get them charted. And at the time, they were probably having to think about what kind of music they were putting out. You know, if these were the labels that were going to sign them and produce their records, then, you know, they were probably thinking that, you know, this is the kind of music that we're making, this is the market that we're shooting for, all those kinds of things when it comes to shopping around for record deals and everything like that. So they hopped around a lot, which is completely understandable for a new group that's coming out. But, you know, that does go to say that I have a huge gap in my collection from 83 to 87, which was like 8 or 9 other releases that I do not have, which is a bunch of 45s and like 3 LPs, The New Girl in Town, Alpha, and Muñequito de Trapo. If anyone has any hookups to any of those, let me know. I would love to add them to my collection. But today we're going to talk about Female Vocalist of the Year, and the winner is, which came out in 1987. You know, I mentioned before that I wanted to do each era and then start with the singles that came out with that era and then go on to the LP. So before we jump into the full LP, I do have here the 45 for Acuérdate De Mi and Yo Te Daré. So this 45 came out in 86, and normally the way things go is that singles drop before the album releases, and then after the album releases, maybe a few more singles will come out. This came out in 86, and then the album actually ended up coming out in 87, and these two songs are on the album. And I'll give you a little bit of a closer look once we look at both of them together. So now we will jump right into Female Vocalist of the Year, and the winner is by Selena Y Los Dinos, which came out in 1987. This album came out, as I said, after Alpha and after Muñequito de Trapo, and Selena was already winning awards and stuff like that for all of her previous releases at the Tejano Music Awards and at other music award shows. Now, I was reading online that they decided to release this LP after already having won the Female Vocalist of the Year award at a couple of different award shows, which I think is pretty dope. I think the first time that she won this was in 1986, and then she went on to win it again like 8 consecutive times or something like that, which is what I was reading, but don't quote me. This album does have some really standout tracks on it, a lot of them which I really do enjoy. I would say that some of my favorites are going to be La Bamba. I think this is one of the better La Bamba covers out there. It's so upbeat, and you all have probably seen the clips of Selena performing La Bamba in the early days, you know, with the sparkly silver suit, the poofy hair, very mid-80s. But her version is so upbeat, so up-tempo, so fun, really easy to dance to. And then one of my next favorite tracks is probably gonna be Días, which was like a Mexican standard. It's one of my favorite songs. My favorite version of that song is probably by Lola Beltran. So I was really happy to see that Selena had covered this, because it's one of my favorite songs. I actually did find this album on eBay. A couple of copies of this LP had been going around online, and I never won the auctions, or they just became way too far out of my price range. This one, I got gypped. They got me. There was one auction that I didn't win, and it was for this album, and it was sealed, or it still had the shrink wrap on it, but either way, it was in like perfect condition. So a few days after that auction had ended, I saw another one pop up. It was in, you know, immaculate condition. And so I ended up winning. And when I received the LP, I opened it, and this was what I got. Now, it doesn't look like it's in like the worst condition, but when you take a closer look at it, it is not what it was advertised for. Let me show you some pictures of what the auction description said. So what I later came to realize was that the seller used images from the other auction that had ended maybe a couple days before, used their images and tried to pass off the condition of the album as in excellent condition. When I got it, it has tape on all four sides, and there's definite wear to the images from, you know, shelf wear, I'm assuming, and there's pen writing on the back, which I'll show you when we look up a little bit closer. So I ended up hitting up the dude and was like, WTF, this isn't how it was described. I tried to put a dispute through eBay and, you know, leaving negative feedback and whatnot. This seller was from Texas, and I think his username was like Vet Rombo or something like that. So if you're out there and you see this, then I hate you. I made the decision to ultimately keep the album. I did not get a refund for it because the album was so rare, and I didn't know when I was gonna find another album for the price that I got it at in this condition. You know, I've seen worse ones out there, so I just decided to bite the bullet and just to keep this one, even though it was not as described. And so I was very, very heartbroken by that, but it plays okay. If I ever came across a better condition of the album and I had the money to spend on it, then I probably would buy it. I definitely thought that I was getting something that was in like pristine condition, and it turned out not to be. So be careful when you're shopping online. Even though they post 5, 6 different images, maybe they're not even the real images. So just do a little bit of investigation work before you decide to spend a lot of money on something, because they will get you. Anyway, so yeah, let's go ahead and take a closer look at this before we throw it on the turntables to listen to it. Here we have Selena Y Los Dinos, Acuérdate De Mi, the 45 7-inch. This came out in 1986 by GP Records and Manny Guerra. And on the B side, we have Yo Te Daré, and these are both singles from the album Female Vocalist of the Year, and the winner is. So let's give these two tracks a listen before we move on to the album. By the way, do you like my slip mat?
No
closer look at the full LP now. Female Vocalist of the Year, and the winner is Selena Y Los Dinos. This was put out on GP Records, as you can see here, and I think this is the third full-length LP that GP Records put out for Selena. The first two being Alpha and Muñequito de Trapo. So like I said, when I purchased this album, I thought that it was going to be in way better condition than it is. It does have some ring wear because the album, you know, has a mostly black background. You could definitely see the ring wear all along there and some spotting. And as you can see, all three sides of the album are reinforced with clear tape that was done by the previous owner. Now, I love the image because this is Selena winning the actual award, Female Vocalist of the Year. I think they were very proud of the awards that they had been winning so far, only having been out for, you know, maybe 5-6 years at this point. So they were proud and they wanted to name this album Female Vocalist of the Year. And Selena, like I said, would go on to win that award consecutively for many years. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the back. And notice this says Selena and Los Dinos and not Selena Y Los Dinos, which on the 45, it says Selena Y Los Dinos. Here's the back cover here. I love this image of the early members of the band. We've got AB, Selena, Suzette. I'm not too sure who that is. And that's Ricky Vela. Here's the track list. And then they list here, I think, some of the different award ceremonies where Selena has won Female Vocalist of the Year. We've got the Tejano Music Awards, KFLZ, Que Feliz Music Awards, West Texas Hispanic Music Awards, and Mike Chavez Music Awards, all at which she won Female Vocalist of the Year. And I'm not too sure of the year, but this is out in '87, so probably sometime before that. Okay. Produced and recorded by Manny Guerra, San Antonio, Texas. Okay, and like I said, there's pen markings on the back there from the previous owners. But, you know, this is from '87, so this is like 33 years old at this point. And you know what? I'll take it. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the actual wax. Here is the vinyl record itself, and now let's get a closer look at the label. Now I like the label because it does start to show where the writing credits come in, where we have AB Quintanilla and Ricky Vela penning some of the songs that are on here. We've also got some traditional covers and covers of Spanish standards, Mexican standards. Here's the B-side, Jose Alfredo Jimenez cover, Cornelio Reina cover, which I think is pretty dope. All right, let's take a listen.
Una vez que te dije que eras bonita, se te puso la cara, se te puso la cara coloradita y arriba, arriba, ahí arriba, 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 yo no soy marinero, por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti seré.
That was the 1987 LP by Selena Y Los Dinos, Female Vocalist of the Year, and the winner is... Oh, and I completely almost forgot that if you want to see Selena winning some of these awards, you can find the clips of the Tejano Music Awards on YouTube. I myself came across a couple of Tejano Music Awards on VHS, which I was able to convert digitally and put them on my channel. They've been up for a while, so just search through my channel and you'll be able to find them. The ones that I have are from 1991, where Selena sings Where Did the Feeling Go? Again, these also have the nominations, the awards, the acceptance speeches, and her time presenting awards to other folks. So this is from 1991, Where Did the Feeling Go? Then I also have 1993, where she sings Como la Flor in her iconic pentagram and red bustier, where she again sweeps a bunch of awards. And then we have the 1995 Tejano Music Awards, where she doesn't perform, but she does win a lot of awards, and she's dressed in the iconic purple dress. There's other clips out there of these same award shows, but they might be like super choppy and not all together. Mine are from beginning to end, and I try not to leave anything out, so I hope you enjoy those. She was always sweeping the awards in all the categories at these award shows, so it's super lovely to see that the community was giving Selena her roses while she was still alive and acknowledging her force in the Tejano music industry. So it's really lovely that we still have these videos to remember her by. Stay tuned for more Selena on vinyl. You can follow me on Instagram at Just For The Nostalgia, and on Discogs, xbrownxclown. I hope you all are having a good new year, and stay tuned for more episodes.